If you're not already subscribed to this YouTube channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button now, along with the bell icon so you can be notified whenever a new video is posted. And if you're already subscribed, check and make sure that YouTube hasn't unsubscribed you. And of course, be sure to give the video a like as well as share it on your social media. The white supremacists hate that. And now, the Sunday address.
Well, tonight a Mecklenburg County representative is facing blowback by members of her party over a speech.
Democrat Carla Cunningham voted with Republicans to override a veto on a bill that requires sheriffs to work with ICE.
Today is a new day, but I'd like to take a moment to reintroduce myself to each of you. I am ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves. I am a Black American, and I am an American. I'm going to present my case in support of House Bill 318, as it is time for my unapologetic truth to be shared with all of you. First, as a people, we need to recognize that it's not just the numbers that matter, but also where the immigrants come from and the culture they bring with them to another country. As a social scientists report, all cultures are not equal. Some immigrants come and believe they can function in isolation, refusing to adapt. They have come to our country for many reasons, but I suggest they must assimilate, adapt to the culture of the country they wish to live in. No country is going to allow people to come in and not acknowledge its constitution, legal systems, and laws. They will not tolerate it. So do you think I can go to another country and set up my own rules to live by, use the language I choose, and then tell that country that you must speak my language? That's not going to happen, nor should it. As a country, the United States has been more tolerant than most other countries. Other countries are making it much more difficult to get citizenship. We have been naive. We have been exploited and abused by the different tactics to gain citizenship in America. It's time to wake up. Global migration in the past was not projected to be as it is today. We must establish new rules to address a distinct type of migration that we are facing in our country, state, and cities. It's time to turn the conveyor belt off and adopt a global migration suitable for the times that we're in, and that is not destabilizing our communities. A large number of people entering a country can change it forever. In conclusion, let me share with you all what happens when a woman lawmaker like myself choose to move differently. Yes, I was degraded for my vote. Yes, I was called racist for my vote. And yes, I was said I was trash. However, I figured it out. They want me to stop elevating my ancestors' history. They want me to be silent in my country. They want me to line up behind their priorities while my people and communities continue to struggle in our country. Mr. Speaker.
Lady will suspend momentarily. Members, it's not a kindergarten class. I look up and I see full-grown adults, many of you senior citizens, and you're clearly trying to make noise like a young child might when they're having to sit in a classroom and listen. So please, you're not doing anything by making these noises. And if the Sergeant at Arms sees the lady who just was making the noise, the Sergeant at Arms has the chair's direction to go ahead and remove the lady. Again, folks, please, we're allowing folks on both sides of this issue to speak. If you want to come down here and debate, go run for public office. Thank you. Lady continues to have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I was saying, they want me to line up behind their priorities while my people and communities continue to struggle in our country. Is this not your country? This is my country. With the good and the not so good, this is my country, 'tis of thee. Now, if you want to adapt to my country, not isolate yourself and come here legally, I welcome you. But today, I am telling you, I am not going to be silenced by those who disagree with my ideology on the issue at hand. Because the blood of my ancestors.
Mr. Speaker.
1 second, Representative Cunningham. For what purpose is the lady from New Hanover, Representative Butler?
I feel like we're getting into personal territory and maligning the character of the members of this body.
I think the lady is speaking to the personal attacks that she received from folks outside of this body, unless I misheard what she said. And the lady is correct that it's not appropriate to talk about personal attacks of members of the body. Again, I understand her to be saying some personal things that she received from outside.
Well, Mr. Speaker, in that case, I would move the previous question.
Okay. Lady's not recognized for motion. Representative Cunningham, lady continues to have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. See, it was my ancestors who came over as slaves, built this country with a strain on their backs. They sweat pouring from their bodies in the rice fields, the cotton fields, and the tobacco farms for this country. Lived as servants and was the footstool, I said the footstool, for far too many feet to step on. So today, if you ask me to line up behind another group of people to raise awareness about their plight, I unapologetically say no. Mr. Speaker and colleagues, please accept my remarks. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All right, before I go any further, I might as well go ahead and deal with the most obvious thing first. She started off by saying ADOS. So what that means is she's behind the curve. There's a big concern right there because by identifying oneself with a defunct and feculent dead movement like ADOS, that also legitimately calls into question one's own judgment. You don't want to be associated with those who have no credibility. But her unfortunate self-identification is not the reason that we're examining what she said. It's that she's the person who cast the vote that allowed North Carolina Republicans to overturn the governor's veto that would have prevented law enforcement from detaining illegal aliens in that state. And that is something that definitely needs to be commented on. As I detailed for you last week, the American South has emerged as a prime battleground in the fight against illegal aliens and the economic devastation and social chaos that mass migration has caused. Both political parties are complicit, by the way. Even though Republicans are the ones who propose the legislation, don't forget Republicans protect the businesses and the banks and the landlords who hire, give loans to, and supply housing to the very illegal aliens that they complain about. Telling law enforcement to actually enforce the law and apprehend illegals when they find them is a good move, but it would be far better to start having raids of the businesses that act as magnets and a support system for the illegal aliens, and to start mass arresting these unscrupulous and corrupt businessmen. That's what actually needs to be done. Republicans, however, don't dare do that. They don't even propose it. So as nice as this law is, it's still just nibbling around the edges. No matter how tough the Republicans may talk, nobody's ready to have a real conversation about real measures that would turn off the magnets that have been drawing and sustaining illegal aliens for all these decades. But I digress. Back to Representative Cunningham's speech. She openly said that she wasn't going to see any other group of people put ahead of her own. And that's exactly the kind of talk that we could use more of when it comes to these state legislatures and halls of government. Actually having some black politicians who say we see exactly what's been happening, every other group has been helped to leapfrog over us, and that has been deliberate policy. And the anti-black racism practiced by these immigrants is also part of that deliberate policy. Buffer groups are not simply brought in simply to have some excess faces. They're also brought in to do the dirty work of the dominant society so that they can go ahead and deny that it was actually them. And Representative Cunningham is taking fire from Democrats naturally, not to mention their suck-up pals in the white media. But they shouldn't be saying anything at all. She said nothing wrong. And when she said that not all cultures are the same, that's pretty much redundant. This country has a culture of white supremacy. How is the culture of cross burnings and burning churches with children inside of them, how is the white supremacist culture the same as the decency and creative vibrancy of foundational Black American culture? How is that the same? How is the virulent anti-Black culture from Asia somehow compatible with the open and accepting culture that we have here among FBAs? How is the blatant racist anti-Black violence from Latin American culture and the adoration that brown-skinned people there have for anything pale-skinned the same as the culture of self-love and self-respect that we have cultivated here? There's absolutely no justification to be angry with her. She's saying the same thing that Asian and Hispanic and white scholars and academics and commenters have themselves said. Even these people have pointed out the anti-Black racism in the cultures that they themselves come from. People are angry with her because she repeated what they said. She pointed out the obvious. None of them can show her what she said wasn't true. That's why they're not even trying. But, of course, they got to try to muddy the waters somehow because they can't just say, she's right, you know. So, directly after Representative Cunningham spoke and told the reality and the undeniable truth that Black people built this country, it was a white Democrat woman who decided to deny all of that.
We've heard passionate debate about this. And I'm going to be the first one to say, this is not my country. This is our country. This is our country. Native Americans, African Americans, immigrants, we have all built this country. But what does this bill do? It denies that immigrants are an essential part of our community. It denies that they are our neighbors, that they are our co-workers, that they are our friends.
Claiming that Native Americans, Black Americans, and immigrants, why, everyone built the country. That's weasel words. Black Americans built this country, specifically foundational Black Americans. Everybody else showed up afterwards to eat at the table that we built, eating from the food that we literally grew and cultivated ourselves. When people do that all lives matters line of crap, that's just a way to say that no lives matter. And it's only done as a way to try to nullify the point that we make whenever we specify the contributions that we made or the harm being done specifically against us. Whenever we specify ourselves in any way, everybody has to come along and go, no, it's everybody, not just you, it's everyone. You know, if everyone built the country, then that really means that no one actually built the country. You can justify any asinine policy under those circumstances, because no one can assert to have any special or specific claims in regards to this nation. That kind of fork-tongued rhetoric is meant to support the status quo. That's the only time we ever hear it being spoken. This white Democrat woman, she couldn't wait to be the very first one to refute what Representative Cunningham said. She wanted to be the very first one to push back. Most of Cunningham's speech was geared around her lineage and her ancestry, and that's what those Democrats hated. That's what triggered them. That's what set them off. They spent all of this time putting up a huge iron wall to say Black people don't matter. We got to prioritize everybody else. All of it meant for the sake of finally getting that final solution to the Black American question. How do you strangle out of existence the 40+ million former slaves and make sure that it's done in a way that you got a guilt-free genocide? Why, you can go ahead and claim we don't even know what happened to them, but that's okay. We got all of these immigrants from hither, thither, and yon, so it really doesn't matter. That's what they're angry about. They're getting pushback. See, when it comes to every other group, they don't ever get upset about that. They don't try some all lives matters crap with that. When you had Asians talking about stop Asian hate, nobody was saying, you can't say stop Asian hate. We should say stop all hate. What about anti-Semitism? What about Islamophobia? What about transphobia? And definitely, what about Black Lives Matter? You can't just say Asian. No, they didn't say that. They said stop Asian hate. You're absolutely right. In fact, here's a federal law specifically for Asians. That's what they actually did. Black people point out the obvious. Hey, we're the #1 victims of hate crimes in this country. Nobody's written any legislation for us. All of a sudden, it's like, well, I mean, everybody suffers, you know. All lives matter. Anytime you hear anyone pulling that line of crap, just understand something. They know exactly what they're doing. They're trying to distract from us, because we're the only ones that they ever drag that line out for. That's not some high-minded altruism that's motivating them. It's nothing more than low-down antagonism. Representative Cunningham did the right thing. She did exactly what Black politicians should be doing, which is to use any opportunity they get, any issue that they can stand up and speak on as a platform to talk about us, about our interests, our issues. That's what she's supposed to do. Put the spotlight right where it belongs. Don't be talking about no doggone union people. It's mostly white unioners who are the ones mad about it. Don't be sitting here talking like anybody else. It's about black Americans, specifically us. They couldn't even wait until this woman left the chamber before they decided to go ahead and start taking shots at her, because they were terrified of what they see as the bad precedent that this sets. And that's the reason why you had a lot of people in that South Carolina legislature who are melanated, and yet they oppose this legislation, and you see they got names like Lopez.
No one has a monopoly on safety. Immigrants, regardless of their status, do not inherently make our communities less safe. And when somebody commits a crime, whether they are undocumented or not, citizen or not, we have processes in place to ensure they face justice under our laws. If safety is your concern, this body has a number of options at its disposal to actually make our constituents safer. Access to housing, access to food, investing in our public schools and preventative program that engages young people inside the classroom and inside of their communities. That list goes on and on. If immigration is your concern, then we should be and can be calling on the federal government to pass comprehensive immigration reform instead of taking on the job ourselves.
These same individuals will claim to be of our lineage or try to palm themselves off as if they are, like Coleman Cruz did. He was sitting there saying, my name is Coleman Hughes. Oh, you left off the Cruz part, didn't you? Your folks come from Puerto Rico. You ain't from around these parts. And yet he's so, reparations. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't need any reparations. He doesn't qualify for them is what he meant. Individuals whose people only came to the U.S. 10 minutes ago, and yet they act as if they built the foundation for this country, and then have the nerve, the unmitigated gall to claim that they work harder than us, that they did more than us, or at least they did as much as us. We did as much as anyone. You showed up 10 minutes ago. House was already built, table already set, food already laid out. Only thing you brought to the table was an appetite. You didn't bring anything other than that. You just showed up to eat off of what other people did. And that's what's going on here. People who are telling lies, people who are scamming, criminals. See, in these other countries, it's okay to be liars. It's okay to be scammers. It's okay to commit crime. That's normal there. That's the culture. Well, it's not ours. There needs to be a hard reset of black leadership in this country. No tethers allowed. No people who are not aligned with us. We need to institute a strict regimen of lineage-based voting. That's how we untether the black vote and untether the political representation. You got to start putting people on the spot. Ask, where are your folks from? Can you actually trace your lineage back to the killing fields of the American South? Tell us who the folks in your lineage are. And even if they claim that they are, you got to put them on the spot about why the hell are you not saying this then? You can't claim to represent us if you're not saying what we say. When they demand that you support immigration, it's not because they want to be nice or they think that this is some altruistic cause to get behind. It is a specific anti-black policy that they're trying to advance. The goal is to get black people to cheerlead for and lend legitimacy to an agenda that's meant to marginalize us out of existence. And we see that there's a lot of tethers whose lineage is clearly not ours who are trying to help white supremacy to do exactly that. These are individuals who try to falsely claim that they have some kind of flimsy and feeble connection to us, and hence, when they say to ignore us and to prioritize everybody else, well, that's okay because this person says they grew up in a certain neighborhood, or that they went to a school in a certain neighborhood, or their parents talked lovingly about Dr. King's dream, etc. In other words, they pull the same scam that Kamala Harris did when she talked about being bused to school, and the same scam Barack Obama did talking about his Kenyan father and white mother, and that would-be mayoral candidate in New York, he tried the same thing and his parents did too. They deliberately make these phony references to where we live and to our experiences and our struggle, all as a means to try to give themselves phony legitimacy, to attach themselves to us and lend the good offices of our lineage to what is nothing more than a scam. And of course, the rather zesty representative.
Several Democratic lawmakers spoke out against Cunningham's remarks, including Charlotte State Senator Caleb Tedros.
This idea, the comment was that there are some cultures that are beneath others, and I'm paraphrasing here. I think it's antithetical of everything that we teach even our kids.
Tedros did not say Cunningham should be replaced in her district, but did say representatives need to speak out against what he calls bad policy.
And to see that come from Democrats is disheartening. At this time, we are facing the biggest gap in income inequality, much like I said. Roughly 600,000 people are slated to lose their health care in the next couple of years unless we do anything. That has nothing to do with the number of immigrants or a specific culture that's superior to another.
He did what every Democrat does when trying to change the subject from something they can't defend. He began blathering about jobs and healthcare, all the boilerplate empty hot air. Never mind that illegal immigration has wrecked the job market by bringing in tons of low-cost, low-quality labor. Just look at the housing market. You want to know why so many of the homes being built for the last 25 to 30 years are built like crap? It's because these home-building corporations keep hiring illegals and their buddies who they can pay under the table, and they don't care about the quality of the work. They don't even know what they're supposed to be doing. They don't care that these illegals don't know a thing about housing codes and don't care to learn. They charge a mint for houses that are crap because they're built dirt cheap, and that's all they care about. And as for healthcare, your emergency rooms and waiting rooms are filled with people who in many cases aren't even there legally, but they know that by law they still have to be seen by a physician, which equates to free healthcare because they have no legal residency, there's no social security number, there's no information that can be used to track them or bill them, and they know it. So when you see idiots like this clown whining, what he's doing is he's helping to uphold the Democrats' overarching agenda of replacing the black vote with people who won't make any demands of white supremacy. He's exactly the kind of spineless, moist, zesty punk that Democrats like. He's the kind of grab-the-ankles loser that the white media loves to say is a rising star in the Democratic Party. That's what he's auditioning for. That's what he's trying to do. Oh, this Cunningham woman's actually standing for black people. Let me go ahead and break my neck and bend over backwards, showing massa that I'm going to fight her every step of the way. We're going to get attention off of these black people and put it where it belongs, on everyone else. That's why he couldn't wait to go in front of the white media and attack this woman. These bootlicks know what white power wants to see from them. He needs to be replaced by the voters in his district. He's the one who needs to go. Now, does Representative Cunningham's speech count as a pivotal moment in black empowerment history? I don't know, but I do know that it was the right statement at the right time. And I also know that she delivered it the right way. She made her statement, she stayed on point, and she also made it very clear that the interests of these illegal aliens and of these immigrants in general are not ours. She also made it clear immigration in general needs to be stopped, and she's right. Because this has not been about immigration, it's been an anti-black political agenda that's been playing itself out. You can go all the way back to the days of Marcus Garvey with that one. Even he knew 100 plus years ago this immigration thing is not being used to help black people. It's being used to drown out black people's political authority and whatever kind of leverage we're supposed to be having for ourselves. That's what it's always been used to do. Keep the doors open for any and every group who's going to be antagonistic against us. If you got all the white folks who are already here who are not able to outpopulate us on their own, just go ahead and import reinforcements. Even if they don't come from Europe, all they have to be is anti-black. And tragically, because of how white supremacy is spread around the world, and just these cultures in general, unfortunately, there is no lack of those kind of individuals. That's who they vet for. That's who they want. So it's a good thing that Representative Cunningham pointed that out. And she did it on a stage large enough to be heard. That's why you got all these clowns who are crashing out about it. Regardless of what you may think about the woman's other views on other issues, I don't expect you to support everything that she stands for. The question is, can you get behind this one? At least on this issue, say, you know what? She's right on this. She may not be right on anything else, but she's right on this. Immigration has been a can of worms that's done us all harm and no good. Black people are the ones who need to be benefited because we've been the ones targeted for deprivation. And all of these people coming here doing this mess, they know exactly what they're doing. So don't sit here talking about how this is some sort of humanitarian issue. No. The treatment of foundational black Americans, that's what the humanitarian issue has been that's been neglected. And the people who have been doing it are the ones who need to be caught by law enforcement and sent back to their home countries. And speaking of the thugs in blue, these corrupt and violent punks who call themselves police and sheriff's deputies, they don't deserve any slack. I just told you last week about how in Louisiana you had multiple police chiefs arrested because they were helping an immigrant carry out a visa scam operation. So the reason you got all these sheriffs and police chiefs who are opposed to enforcing immigration law is because they themselves have found ways to make money off of these illegal immigrants. Police are themselves a form of organized crime. And what's called for here is not to merely require them to actually enforce the law, but there must be harsh penalties in place to put felony charges on police when they don't do it. All right, now in closing, for the people who don't hear so well, I'm not here to put a halo on Representative Cunningham. She delivered an excellent statement on this issue. She did it boldly and unapologetically. But one good speech doesn't mean that we nominate her for sainthood. Black people have a bad habit of wanting to bow down and worship someone merely for doing one good deed or one good thing that seems in line with what we're saying and doing. We need to pump our brakes. We don't get carried away here. She didn't side with the Republicans on this because she's a Republican or because she supports their entire agenda, nor should she. The GOP are not our friends any more than Trump is. Representative Cunningham simply agreed with this one policy. And until I learn more about her, I take a similar stance where she's concerned. I like the speech and the sentiments behind it, and I think she deserves support for this. But beyond that, we'll have to take it as it goes. I know that may seem disheartening to some, but when you're practicing political maturity, this is what it means. I give credit to Representative Cunningham. She took the right kind of stance and used her platform correctly. Now the next step would be for her to get informed about how to properly identify her lineage. There's a reason that we dropped African American. ADOS is also equally illegitimate. People from the Caribbean or from South America can and do claim to be American descendants of slaves, because, hey, there was slavery in the Caribbean and South America too, right? In fact, non-black people from places in Asia and the Middle East can and inevitably will claim the exact same thing on the exact same grounds. They will claim to be Americans and also say we were enslaved too, hence we are ADOS too, so whatever these niggers are getting, we deserve it too. ADOS was a term created by people who didn't have the legitimacy to use the term descendants of American slaves. Now, the brother who coined that term, DAS, he had come to odds with the ADOS crowd, and with good reason. The term ADOS is a problem, just like the people who created it. The same way you have people like Elon Musk who can claim to be African American, quote unquote, and you got that Arab Indian guy running for mayor in New York, he identified himself as African American on his school applications. These labels created by people who are only out for themselves and that leave the door wide open for everyone else to claim to be us, that cannot be allowed. It matters how you identify yourself, because the word identity means what are you most similar to. And for us, are we most similar to some tether who tries to palm himself off as being from our lineage so he can help everybody except us? Are you most like some white supremacist colonizer who invaded Africa and now claims some perverted legitimacy to say that he is an African? Specificity matters, because when you're specific, you're also crystal clear. Sure, people will hate it because it doesn't include them. Oh, these labels that you're using, they're divisive. Well, power is not inclusive. Power is exclusive. Everybody else has been acting that way towards us. And it's way past time we began exercising our power too. And as for these other Negroes in the South Carolina legislature who either chose to remain silent or worse, openly oppose Representative Cunningham, when it comes to these bootlicking clowns, I don't say shame on them, I say to hell with them. Because these guys are not on anyone's side other than white supremacies. And if you live out there in South Carolina and you have the misfortune of being in the district of one of these suck-ups who decided to stay quiet or to oppose Representative Cunningham, you should be letting them know that they're in the wrong, that they're supposed to be saying what she's saying because she actually represents the position and the interest of her constituents, and she represents yours as well. This is the time to be letting these guys know that all these fools who think that they're going to be remaining quiet right now, their silence speaks volumes. They're supposed to be siding with her and supporting her because she's right. And if these idiots think that sucking up to the same old white political donors in the Democratic Party is going to be their ticket to political longevity, then black citizens who get together and make it very clear that their silence will be punished at the polls, now that would be a pivotal moment in black empowerment politics, and it would be one that needs to be replicated nationwide. They want to take the side against their own black constituents, and they decide they're going to side with people who practice violent anti-black racism every single day. That's fine. When all of these illegal aliens go, they won't be the only ones put out on their ear. These corrupt and crumbling cowards also should, and I hope will, find themselves without any sort of political or career home either. And when they do see their would-be careers brought to an unceremonious end, I hope that the words of Representative Cunningham echo in their otherwise empty heads. Good evening, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors: Gwendolyn Langston, Sabrina Scott, John Harvin, Alice Ransom, and Mark Jefferson. Salute to them, and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.